This is the Bears Barroom Radio Network. The following program is recorded live and intended for all audiences.
Radio is scripted now. We just come up with it. We don't use computers. We don't rehearse. We're going to talk about this next. We're going to talk about them. We're going to talk about the Bulls. And then we're going to have Brad Bigson. And then we're going to have all this. No. If you don't know what you're going to talk about in the top of your head before a show, you shouldn't be in the business. I don't know what you got. I feel like Vince Vaughn in a couple's retreat. The Sharks are circling. Old school, baby.
You're listening to the Mike North Advantage, and it begins right now.
That's right. The Mike North Advantage starts right now. I am Aldo Gandia, Mike's wingman, and there he is, dancing to the music, looking dapper as ever. Mike North, how are you, my friend?
Oh, my God, it's good to see you. I haven't seen the show in 2 weeks. We have a little hookup problem here. I was just talking to Aldo about it. I heard the shows have been good. I'm the only guy that doesn't get my own show, for Christ's sake. But all I know is it's been going great. We're kicking ass. We're going to have some winning picks. I'm 4-0 the last 2 days in baseball on Win Daily. So I'm looking forward to having some picks at the end of the show.
Nice.
I would like to start off on a more serious note today, if I could, Aldo.
Absolutely.
As everybody knows, the Bear Bar Room is one of the most balanced sites. When it comes to football. There's people that chime in that say this coach is good, or there'll be other experts and listeners that say this coach is bad. Right. The same thing goes for political reasons. We've always had a balance. And the reason I know that is because I've been on the other side of things that are believed or ideology with a lot of people at the bar room. But we've always respected each other. I finally got something we can all agree on. And I brought it up today. It's this Afghanistan fiasco, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a veteran. Yes. I am a veteran, okay? And I'm not a guy that has give up in me. I don't think many Chicagoans have give up in them. I don't think many people do. And I see our leadership once again. It sickens me to the point that I almost went to Vietnam in 1972, and I wouldn't be here talking to you today because I thought at the time I was doing something admirable. But I do know this. Had I gone, I would like a different effort than what happened in 1975, regardless of living or dying. We didn't get that, as we know that it was a mess. The leadership was more competent back then. And I'm very troubled by the fact that in my world, the smartest and strongest person I've ever met is my wife, Bibi. And in their world, she wouldn't be relevant. She'd be wearing a dress with a mask and everything else. She'd be a sex slave, my wife. She wouldn't have gotten a chance to show her intelligence, her guile, her reactionary type of situation, how to basically be a straight A student, go to a different high school in your junior year because it was closing, and then go to another high school, and in 2 years become president of your class. That's phenomenal to me because she didn't go with the original class.
Right.
So all her accomplishments. But in this country, women's accomplishments are still diminished. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. But they've made great strides. If you're a woman in this country today and you're not bothered by what's going on, okay, forget about the guys. If you're a woman and you fight and we're woke and we're this and we're that and we got the right to control this and control that, then you better be really pissed off about what's going on over there. Because a lot of women, my baby's watching and like her mouth's like she can't because she didn't know the whole deal.
Right.
A lot of people don't. So, and as a veteran, to run like that and to not be ready, I made the analogy today, Aldo, and this is great. I tried to give people a thumbnail sketch of things on Twitter. Go to North or go to Aldo Gandia. I put it in Chicago terms. Gangs have taken over the expressways and side streets, plus the Cumberland L. But we have the inside of O'Hare protected. So just get there. I mean, can you imagine that's what they're telling 15,000 around that area compared to maybe they might have 80,000 people. Now there's 100,000 Europeans. France is starting to rescue people, but we're still standing around. And I brought this up, that general, and I thought, I mean, my God, I saw the black Secretary of Defense. I saw the white general. I said, it's a North. Only we were 10 times sharper. Are you kidding me? You got to be ready. You got to have answers. So I hear all the nonsense. We're going to hold the Taliban accountable to take care of the women. Are you out of your minds? It's over. It's over. Aldo grew up in Chicago, Humboldt Park. A street gang. I'll give you 2 street gangs that were very prominent back then. The Latin Kings and the Simon City Royals. Very simple. I know the whole city. I know every gang. From the Blackstone Rangers, Peastone Nation, Simon City Royals, Thorndale Jagoffs. That's what they were called. EJO, a white, the Gaylords, the last of the white gang. They knew the Simon City Royal. Let's say the Latin Kings ran Sacramento and North Avenue. The leaders got to know that if they pull out, that another gang will be over there shortly. It won't take 2 months. It won't take 3 months in the city of Chicago. Right. If there's a gang that abandons its turf, that's gone tomorrow. So to hear the nonsense and the lies, I just wanted to get this out. Hopefully everybody will be okay. I mean, I had a snow fort once. I don't know if you know this. On the 2nd floor landing at 5793 Ridge, 1967. Me and my 2 brothers. Okay. We rolled boulders, snow boulders, protected our turf, our 3rd floor apartment from anybody. We had it. We held it for 4 days. We overslept on Sunday. The whole thing was ruined when we got up. So the nonsense I'm hearing, we didn't see this coming for a year. You should resign tomorrow or today. You should have resigned yesterday. So that's my opinion. I'm part of this show along with Aldo. Aldo, of course, has free reign to go now, but I think I'm not a father of a daughter, but I'm the husband of a brilliant woman. So I can feel certain things that would just, I mean, it's crazy. How about this? There was a guy against the law yesterday, Aldo, and the guy who was going to shoot him had a bazooka. A handgun would be sufficient, but don't tell me nobody's being killed out there either. And the guys that fell from the plane was 2 days ago, not like our president said, that was 4 or 5 days ago, like it meant nothing. Right. So I would like to yield the floor. If you have anything other than that, we could go back to regularly scheduled programming. And I'm proud of our military. I think we all are here at the Bears Bar Room for doing what they were told to do. I'm sorry for over 2,500 people and 10,000 wounded, 2,500 killed and 10,000 wounded in Afghanistan. That ruins everybody's lives in any family in America.
You're absolutely right, Mike. And I think like you said at the beginning, I think this is something that we could all agree on, that this thing has been botched. And
I knew you would say, because I knew you'd be right on about this. I knew it.
Yeah.
I could care less.
And like you said, there's a lot of people who have paid a terrible price. And, and when you hear stories about people who are being left behind, whether they're Afghan nationals, translators, and so forth, people who help the American military, and on and on and on, and all those families over the years who have lost loved ones, just like you said, I mean, this is devastating for them, and it should be for every American. And it's a shame that this wasn't done a lot.
And we appreciate the fact that we can talk on this, and we could talk about football and everything else today. So I just had to let it go, man. I've been riveted to the TV because I cannot believe that. I can. Because they're politicians. You disagree with your ground troops. I ran a softball team, and against my better wishes sometimes, when I ran that softball team, and we won 2 national championships out of 4 years. But I had a manager and coaches. I never interfered, and I knew as much as they did. And I was the sponsor. I was the guy that ran the show.
Right.
If I wanted, I stayed out of it. I said, "What about this? What about that, Mike? This is that." I didn't always agree. But you just go along. You gotta trust people that have been there, not a guy that has trouble deciding what tie he's going to wear the next day. And I worked. Believe me, I'm an independent. People don't get that because I worked in Chicago politics forever. From the 70s all the way. And then I switched a little bit. I didn't switch a little bit when Reagan. I loved Reagan. I'm not ashamed to say it. And then I've seen Republicans and Democrats screw up ever since. So I don't play that game, but I know when something ain't planned and when somebody's surprised. And like I said, those 2 guys that were up there, Austin, whatever his name is, the defense secretary, and that general.
Yeah.
Come on. He'd get pushed around in a bowling alley for cutting in front of somebody. Idiot.
All right. That was I appreciate you sharing that with everyone. Thanks. Because I think it's hard to imagine anyone not agreeing.
Got women crawling over barbed wire to get over the fence of an airport.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. And then, what's going to happen to the women there? Living under Taliban rule is just about
and
the
then
worst.
This August 31st deadline. Let me tell you something. One of my mistakes with the snow fort was that I told some of the neighborhood kids on a Saturday that me and my brothers were going to sleep in on Sunday. We gave them the date. You don't give somebody the date when you are going to pull out or when you are coming. And that's what we do in this country. We give out the date. Hey, we're getting out. Like you're a hero to us? Come on. This should be like the introduction to Will Kane's podcast.
That's right. All right. Well, a lot of people don't agree with what's going on at Hallis Hall right now.
No doubt.
What do you think?
I've seen some wayward generals. I thought of Trustman and Emery when I saw the 2 groups up there. See, what I'm trying to tell everybody is
that's a compliment to
right. I mean, Trustman and Emery. What I'm trying to tell everybody is just because you are in a leadership position doesn't mean you are a leader. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all. And that's what Trustman and Emery weren't. They weren't leaders. Now it's Pace and Nagy leaders. I hear things. Sometimes people say they are, and sometimes people say that they aren't. All I know is Teven Jenkins. I said this last week on the bar room. Jimbo Covert told me this years ago. Jimbo, congrats again. We're buddies. He's been on the show. Hall of Famer.
Couple times.
Could have been in a long time ago. His career basically ended when he had the back problems. When you have back problems and you had back problems last year, where you played college football, the last 3 games, and it's kept quiet for the most part, but he dropped to us. Another genius pick. I'm here to tell everybody Teven Jenkins will never be an effective Chicago Bear. Period. He's not going to play this year. He's having a back operation. They're trying to, we don't have a set timetable. I mean, you know what? Nagy would fit in with the narrative in this country the last four days. We don't have a set timetable. No, I do. Teven Jenkins is a pick that's not going to work out. I'll stick my neck out right now. He wasn't all that before. He was ferocious. He had an attitude, but come on. He's done. Bad back, offensive lineman who dropped like the atomic bomb. But you couldn't tell Bear fans that because every pick is fantastic.
Well, and Mule hits it on the nose here that the Pace and the scouting department have drafted too many high draft picks with injury issues. I mean, just even forget Teven Jenkins this past draft. The draft before that, they draft Jalen Johnson, the cornerback, and he had shoulder issues in college, and he didn't finish the season last year because of shoulder injuries. So I posted on my Twitter account at Barroom Network that Brian Pace has made a history of acquiring guys with injury problems, and I got chastised by so many people. And it's like, but the proof is there.
Ryan Pace has become like the best general manager in the business from where he's been. You can't question what you questioned without hearing from the Meatball Bear fans, which number more than ever before.
Mm-hmm.
Taking advice from people that don't know the game, that are on the air, on TV, what have you, 75% of you now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
All you have to tell them, Aldo, is go back to your Twitter feed when Jenkins was drafted, how stupid the other teams were.
Right.
No, they know not to do this. You have an injury in college and it's still bothering you, you're in trouble.
Right. Well, and King Pookie asked, didn't Pace do his homework? Well, apparently they did, according to them and according to people who are very familiar with the situation. But they're saying that this is a new symptom that has hit Teven Jenkins, and that's why
honest, he's hurt.
Yeah, exactly.
He's out.
Yeah,
he's not playing anytime soon.
Right.
The line that goes on at Hallis Hall, the absolute line
mm-hmm.
that has
mm-hmm.
gone out at Hallis Hall, and the media swamp that's in their hip pockets, the Bears' hip pockets, is appalling now at this pace.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I actually heard a writer, I'm not mentioning his name, but he's an apologist for the Bears, always has been,
mm-hmm.
say last week on Twitter, well, you know, if Fields makes an interception or Fields makes a mistake, it's not always on the quarterback. I didn't hear that for 3 years. So I hear the nonsense, the bias, once again. I thought the kid played a heck of a game. I don't care if they didn't have edge rushing. He'll face a blitz soon. He'll have edge rushers soon. He'll have to make quicker decisions. Right. He's cocky playing against third stringers saying the game was slow to me. Well, it better be if you're playing third stringers. But then again, he wasn't playing with the best players anyway. So maybe I do like that cockiness, 14-20.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But he's one bad performance away of just going, okay, let's take our time. Now, I've heard people say Dalton shouldn't start. You're out of your minds. But I know this. If Dalton has a couple bad plays in the third game
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or fourth game,
mm-hmm.
gee, I bet you he could get ambushed and be taken out of the game.
Yeah.
And you know what? Then it's on. Then it's on to see if Fields is going to be Canton, Ohio resident, or if he's going to be joining Teven Jenkins on a stretcher somewhere in the hinterland.
Yep. A lot of opinions here about the whole Jenkins thing and Pace and Nagy, whether they should have taken him. And apparently, you know, I think most of the people are saying this was a mistake to draft somebody with an injury history. So,
well, even if he was familiar and you're taking a chance, he was banged up pretty good.
Right.
Although, you know what you do? Take somebody else.
Yes.
Take a healthy body.
Thank you.
If you have a chance to buy 2 cars, and you know those cars got to run forever,
mm-hmm.
your father tells you, I'm buying you 2 cars,
mm-hmm.
but you can't buy another car for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to say you'll take maybe a Mercedes in the first for the first car?
Mm-hmm.
Are you taking a banged up Camaro? A dented Camaro with maybe fuselage problems, fuel problems as your second car? Or are you taking another car that's spotless? The Bears took a banged up car, period.
Yep. Indeed. By the way, Mike, say hi to Bearstown 19 show. He is Gabriel, and he is joining the Barroom Network. Gabriel is a outstanding fan of all Chicago sports and a big-time fan of yours. He's autistic, and he wants to share his message about how autistic people know as much about sports as anybody else. So we can't wait to have him join us and share.
Yeah, I love Gabe. I follow him on Twitter. I've always followed him on Twitter. Sometimes, you know, I retweet some of his stuff. I favor a lot of his stuff. I think he's very passionate. You know, he's a guy that is very bright, and he shows up in his whole White Sox uniform, which I wouldn't have the guts to do. I would, even if I had one. But then we will show. I sent a picture of Eldo with my dad because we're working on this project, and I went to the Cub fantasy camp, and I have a whole Cub uniform on, and the heat I took from all the guys at the score back then, Jesse Rogers.
Really?
George Hoffman, McNeil, all these guys I thought you were a Sox fan. I was. But the Sox at the time, this is great. So Reinsdorfian at the time. They had a fantasy camp. Melton and some of them guys would be there, Carlos May, people like that. But there was a seminar on financial stuff that you had to sit through. I'm sorry. I got enough money to get here. So apparently I watched my finances. So Reinsdorf cut some deal. I'll never forget it. And you know what? So I'm going, wait a minute. I got enough money, which is a lot to spend on this camp. So I already started planning my finances. It's like a 50 and older camp. They're going because they have money. I went to the Cubs camp, 35 and over. You play every day. Joe Pepitone, Randy Hundley, Ron Santo, Fergie Jenkins, Jose Cardinal, who I call the human tripod, just all the great guys, Mo Drabowski, and there's nothing. We're going to go out afterwards and drink and get loaded and talk baseball, and we're going to play 2 games a day. Boom! That was easy.
Love it.
Pepitone was my manager. He came in every morning and passed out on the training table. I love Joe. I'm going to look for Joe. We got to get Joe Pepitone.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Joe Pepitone. When he came on the Cubs, I thought, my God, because we were more or less Chicago, conservative looking. I know the Sox with Hoyt and them guys. But Joe Pepitone, when he came to the Cubs, he had the big wig on. He had all that stuff. He had a bar. He was the best.
He was. And for those people who don't know, he was a former Yankee who was acquired by the Chicago Cubs had the reputation.
He was a former great stickball player in New York when stickball was huge. There he is. His hair's a lot shorter there.
Yeah.
They said he was the next Mantle. He told me this stuff. There was a lot of pressure on Joe. A lot of pressure to fill, like Mantle filled DiMaggio's shoes. They were looking for him to be the next Mantle. Hell of a ball player. Look up his stats, but he loved the party. Yeah. He loved the party.
A big time partier.
Oh.
Who were some of the biggest partiers in Chicago sports?
Bobby Hall. I don't know if it was a party, but Bobby Hall liked to drink to oblivion. That's what I know. Me, most radio guys, most partier. Look, if I'm going to think of big time partiers, Mo Drabowski, he could put it away. I loved him. I met him at the camp. He could put it away. Pepitone has to go down in McMahon, the 85 Bears. When you think of partying Chicago teams, that's all hockey players. I mean, Kane, even before Kane started behaving himself, he was out of his mind. So
what about Obradovich?
Oh my God, yeah. Obradovich, Eddie had a restaurant. He had a couple restaurants, OB's and Morton Grove and stuff like that. And yeah, he partied. Ditka, notorious.
Oh my goodness,
notorious partier, notorious.
But none of them could party like you.
Well, I was with Ditka. We both said, "Boy, I'm tired." Me too. So just stuff like that. I could party, but like I've said, partying's the best, but it's so much. It causes so much aggravation too.
Yeah,
it really does. Just looking for your car.
That's right. 3 hours wasted looking for my car. Who moved my car?
The valet. Oh, sorry.
Mule says that Butkus was hanging out at the bars when he was in high school. Holy!
Everybody was going to tell him to leave.
Yeah, I got my Butkus jersey on, by the way, or T-shirt.
The best I ever saw. Take your Lawrence Taylors and everybody else. I love the middle linebackers of the 60s, the Mike Curtis, the Willie Lanier, the Ray Nitschkes, the Dick Butkus. They're at another level of savagery. These men were Mike Lucci. I mean, a friend who became a friend of mine was a big time Charlie with Bally's health clubs. I ended up Mike was God bless him. I saw him play the Bears with Butkus. And I saw him outplay Butkus. It broke my heart. He had 3 interceptions in one game against the Bears.
I remember that.
Outplayed Butkus, and it broke my heart. Hell of a football player.
Mike Lucci, yes, Detroit Lions. What on Saturday when the Buffalo Bills come to play the Chicago Bears at beautiful Soldier Field, there's going to be a quarterback by the name of Mitchell Trubisky leading the Bills. How are you going to feel personally knowing that you have you like the guy?
My guy.
Yeah.
Mitch is, I've never abandoned him. Mm-hmm. Like the Afghan people were. Oh, I got to get off that. Okay.
That's awesome.
I will never. I saw people jump off the Trubisky bandwagon, ask for somebody else. Mm-hmm. After that, somebody else blew. I watched everybody jump back on to the Trubisky bandwagon after we made the playoffs. Then I saw Nagy and Pace get rid of him, and everybody's going, God, that was smart. The same people who don't like Nagy and Pace and think they're dumbasses. So here's what I do know. I saw somebody on Twitter say, the Bears are out to get Mitch. The Bears are out to destroy Mitch. I don't believe that's the case. Yeah. I think they love Mitch. I think they respect Mitch. They want to beat Mitch, but they're not going out to hurt Mitch Trubisky. No. Not a quarterback that helped lead this team to the playoffs 2 out of 4 years. And they know, football players know what kind of guy he is. I heard in Buffalo they love him. I haven't heard one person, and it was good to hear Nagy say, I hope he has a successful career.
Yep.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
I lost your audio.
He's already had a pretty good career compared to a lot of quarterbacks that have played 3.5 years. Okay? But look at Goff. He led a team to a Super Bowl, and he's gone. And he's playing for Detroit, who, by the way, doesn't look bad right now. I know it's preseason, but if we're going to say everybody looks good on the Bears, you got to look at everybody's making fun of this coach at Detroit. He's the first coach I've seen that has any fire on that team. I go back to Monty Clark. I go back, seriously. Detroit's coaches have been notoriously bad. Wayne Fontes was the last good one. They got Chris Spielman in the front office now. Why do people have a problem with the guy that's a little off the wall and he's a maniac as a football coach?
Right.
Mind your own business. We have a football coach that's passive and friends with the players, and we have trouble getting it right. So I don't have a problem with this guy. It's good to be different every so often, and it's good maybe to let the Detroit Lion players know this isn't acceptable. And I've watched them in preseason my whole life. I watched the game last week. They look pretty good. That's all I'm saying. They look like they're playing with a purpose at least.
Ools 278 says, I hope Trubisky doesn't get booed. Be a king's gesture to applaud him for all the shit he had to deal with in Chicago. Absolutely.
That's a good one. Why would you boo him? You would be booing a guy that threw twice as many touchdowns as interceptions, 10,000 yards, saved the coach's job, had us looking forward to a playoff win last year after a debacle of a 2-5 from Nick Foles. Trubisky's off the team, but Foles is still on the team. That's all I'll tell you about the leadership of this football team.
Yeah. Boy, the reports coming out of camp is that Nick Foles is not impressing anyone. So if there's scouts from other teams at camp looking at Foles, they're not going to be interested in.
He's Jason Hayward. He's the Bears' Jason Hayward. You can't give him away. You can't give him away.
Exactly.
He really is.
Exactly. All right, let's turn our attention to baseball, Mike, because the Chicago Cubs need to be broken up. They've won 2 in a row. And I've noticed that our guy from Cincinnati is not in the chat room. He's probably really upset that his Reds lost to this terrible Chicago Cubs team 2 in a row by a total of 9-2, 7-1 and 2-1.
Cincinnati still has to get better pitching. They hit very well, but the Cubs winning 2 in a row is something I didn't foresee. Now, I got some stats. People go, Mike, what can you bring to the Elder's always telling me, would you please bring something different? We're tired of the same old stories. Here's what I do know. Prior to yesterday or the day before, the favorites, the prior 2 weeks, 14 days, 71% of the games. There's 6-7 bad baseball teams. Arizona, who's starting to win again.
Yeah.
Baltimore.
Oh my gosh, they're terrible.
They've won I showed BB the record, 39-80. She goes, "Are you kidding me?" I go, "That's it."
Two 14-game losing streaks this
right.
season.
Arizona can't win on the road. You hit them at home, they win. But I told everybody on my Win Daily show, I said, listen to me. As soon as you hear a trend like that and you start betting the favorites, watch what happens. That night I bet 3 dogs. They all won. So it's baseball. It's not like football. Arizona won.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Philly's losing now. They were winning for a while. Atlanta's taking over that division. The Cubs give up is paramount. I mean, the way that they gave up, it's almost like the way they gave up Afghanistan. No, wait a minute. Trying to get up. They are baseball's Afghanistan. We're pulling all the troops out. Baez, gone. Wyatt, gone. I watched Rizzo last night get a 2-run base hit. He doesn't look good. He just came off COVID for the second time.
Yeah.
But he's playing because he's got to play for a deal. He got in.
Yeah.
I mean, he started. He played well. I still think hopefully he'll sign with somebody like that. I don't know if he's going to get the same contract he had. That's not, I don't think, going to happen.
I don't think so either.
That's a shame. But, you know, he took a chance like the other guys. But the bottom line is they are so bad. They put a minor league. They should cut the prices of the tickets in half. They're minor leaguers, most of them. But we're seeing them win a little bit. And they're beating, you know, there's some teams losing right now that got to win. They got to win. And I got to tell you something. I saw Joe Madden with the Angels the other day, managing. And they won. I'm going, wow, he's so glad he got out of there. It turned out to be a big favorite today.
Yeah. Mike, now on the other hand, it's the White Sox winning and looking really good. I mean, to win, 3 straight against the Oakland A's, the second best road team in baseball, that's quite an accomplishment.
That is. I'm proud of Tony La Russa. The naysayers were the same naysayers that thought Foles was going to get it done. Look, if you didn't like La Russa, you liked Foles, and you loved Cutler, you're all idiots. That's it. Don't even talk to me. It's so easy to see. He's a Hall of Fame manager. He has organization to him. He tries to win every game. Who had the White Sox? They're 175 tonight, from what I'm hearing.
Oh, wow.
Against Oakland. They own Oakland. Hey, the Yankee games could have gone either way, but the Yankees look like a better team sometimes. The Sox, I don't know if they're going to go to the World Series, and I know what's going to happen. Let's say they don't win the first round. Oh, La Russa. No. Oh, no. They're here because of him. And you know what? That division is so pitiful. And I like what they're doing against Oakland. I mean, I heard Tony La Russa say Bob Melvin is the best manager in baseball. That's a guy that's secure, number one. But number two, you're out managing Bob Melvin. So, you know, you can damn him with faint praise all you want. And then tonight, Dylan Cease is going, and they're big favorites, and he's going against a pitcher that's better than him. So I don't know. I may have a pick on this game later on.
Oh, cool. I want to get back to the Cubs for just a moment. Because
hey, holy mackerel.
Robbie reminds me that he says, Mike, Marquee Network is putting together a great documentary about the rebuilding of Wrigley Field. And now they've also announced that they're opening up a Hall of Fame for the Cubs, that they're also, televising the minor league games. It's like total try to distract people from what the
Ladies
Cubs.
and gentlemen, welcome to the 2030 Cub Hall of Fame. We have 3 great inductees. Why am I holding my hand over my nose?
I don't know, but it's funny.
First, he was a catcher that toiled for 3 to 4 years. Could block a ball with anybody. Came up with some key hits. Ladies and gentlemen, Hector Villanueva. This man played shortstop after Ernie Banks went to first base. And he was fantastic, acquired from the Milwaukee Braves. Ladies and gentlemen, Andre Rogers. Everybody's going to get in. Everybody's going to get in. Who will ever forget the catch he made on Don Caldwell's no-hitter? He's not with us any longer because we just decided 40 years after everybody else has a baseball type of Hall of Fame like Cincinnati to actually put one in. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, Moose Morin. That's how it's going to be.
Oh,
my God.
Thanks for reminding me of that, Robbie, because when I saw that.
Ladies and gentlemen, he patrolled center field like the border guards patrol the border. Ladies and gentlemen, Jerry Morales.
That's hilarious. That is hilarious.
I love them all. Put them all in.
Jerry
because the Hall of Fames are all ruined. As soon as Baines got in, that was bad. That's ridiculous. You know. So here, I'll give you my first list. The 5 guys. Ernie Banks better be in.
Oh yeah.
Gabby Hartman.
Oh, Gabby, yeah.
Phil Cavaretta.
Oh my goodness.
Phil Cavaretta, for all you folks that don't know, went to Lane Tech High School on Addison. And then like 2 years later, he's playing first for the Cubs on Addison.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody talks about that. And then he became an MVP.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen, Gary Gaetti. Hey, he deserved to be in much sooner. Mickey Morandini. Oh, God. They should have the Bad Cubs Hall of Fame. They should have the Bad Cubs Hall of Fame.
There you go.
That would be more fun. I'll tell you what. If you put a Hall of Fame building on Michigan Avenue, Cubs Hall of Fame, and you put Mike North's Bad Cubs Hall of Fame, I'm going to beat him.
Yes. There should be a wing where, players acquired by the Cubs on their downside, like Bobby Murphy. Yeah, exactly.
Ladies and gentlemen, he was traded for a 3,000 hit Hall of Famer. He had a bad arm, and he couldn't throw the ball to the mound. Ernie Broglio. That's all. My God, Danny Murphy. He was a bonus baby. Played like 10 games. Sucked. I got the history down. The Cubs hate that. You know the baseball teams in Chicago and other teams. I know it all about this stuff. I can go back to their good picks, bad picks. Oh my God. The Bad Cub Hall of Fame, Corey Patterson's got to be in. For what he was supposed, he's a 5-tool player. He wasn't a 1-tool player. You think I had he had a pair of players going, I need a hammer? I mean, seriously.
Gabe brings up an interesting point. The rift between Sammy Sosa and the Chicago Cubs. So is Sosa in this Hall of Fame?
Bad Hall of Fame. You put him as the man. He can't. Well, yeah, they're going to look. He took steroids. I don't think he should be in. The Cubs can't stand him, it seems like. The organization wants to put it behind him. Ricketts was there during that time. He was a fan in the bleachers.
Right.
And they don't want nothing to do with him because they know. Mm-hmm. They know what the San Francisco Giant fans refuse to admit. Mm-hmm. That their guy did worse, Barry Bonds. Because he actually, I think Sammy Sosa, because I met him when he was 175 pounds with the White Sox. I think Sammy Sosa benefited more off steroids than any player ever in any sport. He was a 20 home run man at the most.
Yeah.
And I saw him, I called him the Panther. He was so little.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Panther. He was so sleek.
Right.
He came in like 2 years later. I'm going, oh my God, what happened to this guy? So, and there was another guy I saw like that in the Yankee locker room. I never seen a guy as big as Alex Rodriguez for his size.
Yep.
For his size.
Robbie makes
another guy that was bad.
Yeah. Robbie makes a good point that the Ricketts know they need Sammy now during these dark times.
They want to bring him back to play?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, he is now beige. Sammy Sosa.
I think the Cubs are
white. Well, we'll have white Sammy Sosa.
Yes, exactly. You wouldn't recognize him.
You wouldn't recognize him. He's white Sammy Sosa.
I think the Cubs are in Operation Distraction. It's like, look over there, look at the field.
Well, that's almost like saying, Operation Distraction. You're right. We see that happen so much.
Yep. That's right.
I mean, when you're talking, by the way, Aldo, I did not know this, but I'll meet you It's 8 months for the booster shot. Where you want to meet? You want to meet in Dundee?
Meet you at the Jewels.
I'll meet you at Portillo's.
Yeah, exactly.
I got another booster shot.
You want a booster shot with those fries?
Pretty soon, the people that work there are just going to jab you every time you come in. Sooner or later, it's got to work. Hi, I'm JoJo.
Sooner or later, it's got to work. I love it.
If you order fries, I mean, my God, if you order fries, you get a booster shot. I had one 2 months ago. Anytime.
Mike, do you think that Shohei Ohtani is getting booster shots? Because this guy is kind of proving to have, this season could be one of the best in baseball history for an athlete playing the great game of baseball. What do you think about Ohtani?
Well, first of all, without sounding like Jack Morris, okay, who made some disparaging, he talked like a Chinese or a Japanese guy.
Right.
His rendition, that was not good. He's under suspension. He's one of the biggest Japanese people as far as
huge man
sport player I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Now, I'm being just obvious. It's not a stereotype.
Oh, no.
Most of your Asian people, most of them are like us. They're normal size for whatever race they're in. This guy, I mean, if he's walking down a street in Japan, he's sticking out. He's sticking out like a 7 foot, like Luke Longley would stick out.
Yeah.
Walking down the street.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So
he's a huge man.
He's a huge man. He's 8-1. He's got a 2.95 ERA. He's hitting 270, but he's got 40 home runs. So I hear he's a big favorite to win the MVP. He's doing what Ruth did. So I love him. I watched him the other night. Naturally, I bet him and he strikes out twice. I don't understand this.
So
that was when things were going bad. Now it's much pleasanter. Yeah. Anyway, like Mule Skinner says, he's a freak of nature, man. He's a great player.
Really
and I love watching him play. And he's a guy that puts fannies in the seats. You know?
Yep. Do you think we're going to see more of that where guys who can throw the ball well are also going to be in baseball lineups and pitch every 4, 5, 6 days?
Well, I don't know if there's a 2-player person like this.
Yeah.
This is once in a lifetime. Hey, it's the first time I've ever grabbed my mic like this. I'm actually relaxed.
This is really cool. I like this.
Yeah. Anyway, I love the Asian people. I love them. I love everything. I love their cultures. I love everything about them. You're seeing the Asian people of any denomination, whether it's Chinese, Japanese, you name it, getting better in sports. The PGA starting to get more Asian players. The LPGA just dominating with those players.
The LPGA, yes.
In China, we saw a guy like Yao Ming become relevant. They have a work ethic. They play hard. The Filipino boxers, I mean, just tremendous, I think, strong-willed people. So I think this is only a beginning. Will you see another Ohtani? I say no. Maybe, the closest I can come to was Rick Ankiel. He was a pitcher, then he couldn't throw the ball after a while over the strike zone, and then he played center field. And I said to myself, boy, would it be something one day if they would do that? But I never really followed that, never even pushed it. But that's basically what he became a pretty decent hitter for St. Louis. After, I can't pitch anymore, I'll move to the outfield. So he's the closest I've seen, really, when you stop and think about it.
Yeah. What I think is going to happen is we're going to see more attempts at doing those dual positions.
We see position players pitch for the Cubs almost every other night in relief. They said the Romine brothers were a battery. I thought that's what you put in your hair if you were going bald. Isn't that what that is? Romine? I forget what it was.
Yeah.
We're having a funny show. We're having some fun today.
Always
now, tell me the truth. You work with a lot of people. There's no doubt. You work with Danny Wexler, right?
Yes. Dan Aguirre. Yep.
Dan Aguirre, funnier than hell. But you got to admit, pretty good last 10 minutes. And you also work with, how about all the shows? A Suburban Hitman? I mean, my God. The Parisi brothers?
Yeah, how
If
about
you don't agree with them, they're going to get you in the gangway? I mean, my God. I'm afraid to argue hockey with the boys. They're the greatest. I love all the shows. I told you that before the show. I listened to a lot of them.
Yes, and I appreciate the support. Yeah. Hey, let's talk about something personal to you. As people know, we've talked about it here on the Mike North Advantage, which is on every Thursday morning, and it's brought to you by the good folks over at WinDailySports.com. And make sure you follow them at WinDailySports on the Twitter machine. You and I have shared with people that we're working on your autobiography, which is going to be released.
We're going to start really going in after the football season.
Exactly. But we've got, we've done a lot of pre-interview work. And so we've got a gold mine of stories that you've shared about your personal life. And this is no holds bar. You're talking about things that are personal to you, things that are emotional and so forth. And so we wanted to share something. You saw it this morning. I shared it with you this morning. Is there anything you want to say before I play this?
Well, I want to say that my dad was a rough man. My dad was a disciplinarian. My dad was afraid, and you'll see more pictures of my dad throughout when we have the thing and we have other cuts. The reason we do that is so we can spread them out. And it's smart by Eldo to do that. That's why Eldo's the main man working on this thing in BB. But my dad never hugged me. Don't care. Made me go to work, told me to go to work when I was 12, delivering papers. Never gave me a lot of confidence as far as my educational, but I didn't give him a lot of confidence because I didn't care. I never worried about my future. But he knew I could play ball. He knew I played all the sports. He went to some of my games sometimes. And he was a hardworking electrician. But then we had the situation where, I'll let the cow tell the story.
Yep. Here we go.
He always told me, he says, there's one thing I'm afraid of. I go, what? He goes, I'm not afraid of dying. He goes, I'm afraid of a stroke. He goes, if I ever have a stroke and I'm still alive, Mike, remember I'm telling you this. Pull the plug, right? So, my dad has a stroke, and he can't speak, but he knows who's coming in and out. He's conscious. He can sit on the side of the bed. I'll never forget this. I go in there, and the doctor says to me, and my mom, he says, listen, it's not looking too good. I come over to see him, and he looked at me, and he winked with one eye. Winked. You know what that was telling me? I've had it. I'm not going to make it. Remember what we talked about. And then he went into this coma. The doctors talked to us, and then we decided once he went on life support, that was the way to go. So it was a very sad thing.
Yeah, it was tough. He told me, now he sat on the side of the bed only if he was helped. In other words, they could move him, but he couldn't talk. He couldn't have any water at certain points. I mean, he could have ice. They put ice in his mouth. But he always told me, because he had a history of that in his family. He told me, if I'm rendered, he told me, he didn't tell my brother John, didn't tell my brother Danny. He would tell me, listen, I don't trust your mom to do this, but if I ever have a bad stroke, in other words, you could have a stroke and still be useful. Then the doctors will tell you he's got a shot. So I go to see him, and he can't. He does this. Like, okay, I know who you are.
Yeah.
But then he went into, he had heart problems. He had diabetes. He didn't take real good care of himself. He was a partier. He had, he would go to the bowling alley every day after work, sometimes come home late. So I remember the doctor telling him, you got to watch what you eat. And then that night, I see him eating like 10 hard-boiled eggs. Boom, 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 after he just goes to the doctor because he was putting on weight. My dad used to be slim like me.
Mm-hmm.
And then he let himself go, and then that happened. So it was tough. It was a tough decision. But when you're in a coma,
Mm-hmm.
when you can't talk, I'm sure, and I'm talking to people that have had to do this. You have to, and they tell you, the doctor's telling you 99% he ain't gonna. It ain't good.
Yeah.
You got to do it for him. So
Right.
that's what I ended up making a decision that was relatively easy. If he had any hope at all, I mean, he'd still be here. But it was like a give up.
Yeah.
So that's how it turned out.
I think Mule has an excellent chat message here. That wink, says Mule. He was also telling you that he loved you.
Yeah, he was. Because, he wasn't a hugger. He never told us he loved us. My parents didn't do a whole lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
They just set us on the right path. It wasn't always the right path. I think when you're 12 years old, your formative years, there were times that, hey, look, all I know is without him, I'm not here.
Mm-hmm.
So, you people that hold things against your parents,
Mm-hmm.
I want you always to remember that's the most important thing. If they got together once, maybe if they weren't married, but you're still, what? He's never been a part of my life. Yes, he has. He created your life. So he made me tough. I mean, he made me not afraid of anybody. He made I think when you look back at your parents, 3 squares a day, good place to live, get out and work early, get some work ethic to you. You're not that bright in school.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that. I didn't stick around. I didn't like it. I like to have fun. So he was scared of that, but he was also scared of drugs. He poured me a scotch and water when I was 15.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, try this. My dad. I hated it. He says, see? But he was afraid more because of lack of information of drugs, and he thought maybe marijuana could start something. Be careful of smoking marijuana. Don't do this. Very, very paranoid, like a lot of people were in the 60s, the late 60s and 70s on drugs,
And in one of our previous teases, you talked about what a pressure he put on you to do well at school.
It was, the whole thing is, a lot of parents back then, if you're not getting an education, I think 50% of you is a negative back then. Now, to put it bluntly, I went to 2 years at Sen. I'd be an honor student now with our public school system. I went to Sen High School when it was a damn good high school, 67, 68, 69, 70. In the 50s, it was one of the top 10 high schools in America. But then they built Mather down the street on Peterson. Right. A lot of the kids, we lost a lot of the kids, a lot of the bright kids. We lost kids, Asian kids. We lost Jewish kids. We lost Irish. We lost a lot of kids, but we still had a full house here. But we lost a lot of bright kids too. And so, yeah. But then when I made it, everything was cool. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah. My mom still goes, I still don't believe it to this day. I go, can you let it go?
Guess what time it is, Mike?
Man, time flies when we're in it, doesn't it?
It is time for Mike's Picks, WinDailySports.com. I love it when you do that. WinDailySports.com. That's the place you want to visit. Why not turn your love of sports into winning
They got
money?
an app now, Win Daily Sharp. Check it out.
Oh, cool.
They got an app now. I just found out about that.
Nice. I got to download that.
Download that. Give it a look if you get an opportunity, folks.
Yeah.
The bottom line is that I'm taking the White Sox with Dylan Cease tonight. That's it.
I love it.
I think they're favored by what? Let me. Do you have a favorite there? Can you look up the? I can check.
I will.
I want to look at the current odds.
Okay.
Let's see what we got here. Chicago, MLB odds. Gaming MLB odds. They're like minus 160, I think, aren't they?
Yeah, well, minus 160 is what I see here. Actually, no, it's changed. Minus 120 now.
So it's gone down.
Yeah.
I'm taking the White Sox.
There you go.
I'm taking the White Sox. It's how it came up this morning. I had no plans on taking the White Sox. In fact, even with my Win Daily show, I haven't taken the White Sox a lot, even with the Bears Barroom this year. They've won money for bettors, and so have the Giants. Those are your two major people. The White Sox odds started out high yesterday, as Aldo said. They've gone down because there's a better pitcher supposedly going for the other team. But I think Dylan Cease can put it together. I think the bats are going to come out again. I think they're getting more comfortable. They aren't intimidated by anybody. They got a bright future, really unless injuries happen. And I got to ask you something. I brought this up with with my host on the other show, John Jansen. Bryce Harper's real good. But I wouldn't trade Eloy Jimenez for Bryce Harper. Would you?
No way.
Bryce Harper's having a hell of a year.
Yeah.
He's got a shot at them MVP.
Right.
But I'm just saying, based on how a guy comes back from injury, it's like he never got hurt.
Yep.
Now, Andrew Vaughn's getting less time. He's doing some DHing. Grandel's going to come back. We got a logjam. We got a logjam. I mean, Ingo's playing well. I mean, this whole team, what a managing job by Tony La Russa. That's all I'm going to say. And on the other side of town, I don't know how long David Ross is ever going to be a manager. I don't see anything promising. I don't.
Of those three, David Ross, Matt Nagy, and Tony La Russa, rank them in order of proficiency, their ability to do a great job.
I'm going to go La Russa, Nagy, and Ross. I think Ross got his hands tied. He couldn't tell Rizzo what to do. He couldn't tell. He could, but they made him. He couldn't tell Baez. He was a sub catcher on that team. Imagine that. Hey man, why don't you swing at the ball more level, Javi? Quit fishing. Hey man, I played with you. You couldn't even start. Okay. I mean, that's just basically what you could say if you wanted. Not that he would, but I think that Bryant was more or less hands off. I think he coddled him, gave him a couple days off this here and there in a row. They and then he comes out with the fragile hamstring. That was the worst. So I'm not a fan of David Ross.
Yeah, a lot of people in the chat room are not. And I got to share this with you. Ravi says that he went to Sen. He says, Sen was a ghetto when I was going to Lakeview in the year 2000. I lived on Kenmore, the border between Sen and Lakeview.
Okay, now, Kenmore, I delivered papers on Kenmore in Winthrop back in the 60s. It was bad then. The late 70s, 80s, 90s. I mean, around, I don't know where Robbie's talking about Broadway, which Kenmore and Winthrop have really been cleaned up if you talk about towards Loyola U, which is on Sheridan Road. Now, many people don't know that part of the city, but it's at the end of Lakeshore Drive. If you want to take Lakeshore Drive and then hitch on to Sheridan, you go right by Mundelein College and Loyola. They've brought up all that. That's beautiful. Where you have the problem, and he's right, you go to Bryn Mawr, and you take anything from Thorndale south to Lawrence to Bryn Mawr, it's bad. You got to watch yourself. There's no doubt. But Sen wasn't a ghetto. There's like my mom's building is worth about, I'm not going to tell you what it's worth. But no, there's a lot of, but that is on the other side of Thorndale. And Kenmore, it's almost weird. They have the L-tricks that separate Kenmore and Winthrop from everything that's west of them. Like it was planned. There's nothing but apartment buildings on that side.
I want to let everybody know that you can hear more of Mike North in 30 minutes. Those of you watching live, catch the Bet Like Mike show Monday through Friday.
And by the way, I'll be at Bourbon Street on Saturday.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that because I heard it on the radio. 9
to noon. I'm going to leave because where I live, I'm going to leave Friday night. It'll be a 6-hour commute, no doubt. No, it's going to be at Bourbon Street. I remember being there when it opened.
Yeah.
Carmen goes, that figures. I go, I helped open the joint.
and close it at night.
2006, Marionette Park. Who would know? So it's going to be a good time, and a lot of the guys are going to be out there. Field Yates is coming in.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Field Yates is going to be there.
Now, this is going to be like a fantasy football.
And gambling. I'm putting on Carmen and I in Prop Swap, along with Luke Pregande and Ian. We're putting on a gambling seminar for half an hour.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
those of you who love to
And
gamble,
at the end of my gambling seminar, I say, if you're losing a lot of money, stop and then beg your wife to give it to you. So you can pay the man off.
real quick, let's give a quick plug to Lou Purgandi and the swap site. Explain what they do, the prop swap.
Right. Prop swap, basically, you can make bets through prop swap. You can bet futures. You can bet anybody. You could bet, let's say you take Atlanta this year, and they're 80-1 to win the NFL Super Bowl. Okay. And let's say Atlanta goes, let's say they're 6-2. And you bought the ticket, and if you win, you're going to win, like, let's say you bought a ticket for $2. So you'll win 160. Well, now you can charge more because they're in a chat where they got a chance. So you can go back and resell that ticket at prop swap. And that's what they do. When you had futures back in the day, let's say you took the Cubs, like most people do, that go to Vegas.
Right.
In June, when you tore up your ticket. Now, if they're around the hunt, you could still sell that ticket. So that's what they do. They have the best odds going. So check out prop swap.
Very, very cool. And check out Mike in about 30 minutes at Win Daily Sports.
Check this show out. I'm praying.
All right, Mike. We'll see you next Thursday right here on the Tomorrow.
I love you, Aldo. You know that. You're my guy. Nobody's better than you.
I love
That's
you.
it. I love you.